number 4 for today. So we'll make a record. And I understand fully that it makes no difference whether these things are documented, known, because they refuse to discipline or obey the law in that rogue element of the Corpus Christi Police Department. And when I first started talking about these issues, I won't mention my friend's name again. This happens to be a lady friend. And understand, I have no doubt that what they tell me is true, because this lady friend is also a friend of the CCPD officer. Many of my friends have known some of these officers for many years, interact with them. A few years ago, the lady friend said, "John, talking about a CCPD officer. Oh, John, be careful, because, he told somebody else, it's another case, that he will take his uniform off and beat the living fuck out of you." Now, she was referring to someone else that he would do that to. But this Christian lady told me, sort of like, that's the way it works here. I cannot imagine a lawful law enforcement agency to have rogue elements that it's common knowledge on the street and among citizens that, that's just the way they operate, John. I can't imagine that. Besides documented cases of stuff like that happening, how do you think if you as a citizen make a threat to a person? Roger did 4 years in prison simply for the words of a threat to an officer. Yet you have officers not only making those threats, but carrying those threats out multiple times and a history of them. And in your city, wherever you happen to live, you've seen cases, maybe, where, yes, at times officers got arrested for felonies. I find it shocking that not only is stuff like this common knowledge, but a few years ago, I used to think that maybe the chief of police, maybe he's not aware of these. Then when I realized he's fully aware of all these things, that's what made me think, you're doing such a disgrace to your younger rookies on that department, Markle, by knowing that this is going on. And because you all live where I live, Flower Bluff, Texas, that maybe you felt that was an element. No, you should have dealt with that element so many years ago before you rose to the ranks of chief. I wonder if you were this particular officer's supervisor when he was out doing these things. Maybe you were the one that told my friend Shannon Case, we promise he'll never commit another felony on you. These are just the ones I'm aware of. Listen to me. There are so many. These are just the ones I'm aware of. You say then, why do you get so upset, John, when officers might approach you when you're in the park or with your friends? That's why. That's why. Because that element that I'm familiar with for 25 fucking years out there is rogue, and then you say, but this element of younger officers, I'm sure they're good. But so you're wanting the public to discern, maybe this vehicle with an officer in it He might get out and beat the fuck out of you or somebody else, but they're not all doing it, John. That's why you're responsible, Chief Markle. If we had firefighters committing arsons with our knowledge, but we said they're not all committing arsons, so you just gotta pick and choose. This is deplorable that you are unable to have correct supervision of your department. I hold you as the chief of the Corpus Christi Police Department. You're responsible. I have every right to speak out on these issues because many of the friends of mine that experience assaults, harassment, targeted, many of them are in fear to speak out. Why? Because they'll get the shit beat out of them. That's why. You say, John, but that tamped down over the last few years. I'll be honest, I have no idea if it tamped down, and it's a disgrace that you let these guys stay on the department. An utter disgrace. Now maybe for job protection or whatever, you don't want to deal with those elements. You should have given them options. Look, you got away with a lot of stuff. But yes, John is upset, and maybe we don't think we're going to have to listen to John. But he's brought it out public. So you better retire or whatever. I can't leave Flower Bluff because one of my kids was targeted by so-called law enforcement. I used to say a few years back, I wrote you letters, city council. I said, I consider some of your elements a death threat. And you laughed and said, how would you consider them a death threat? Let me say, if you have officers that have committed felony assaults, you say you're spreading rumors. We'll have Shannon Case. What I'll do is I'm just going to, I'm going to go ahead and go to a notary. We're going to document that. We're going to document that. Because you're unable to restrain your department. And we'll get a restraining order against that officer. Don't ever approach him again. Because you don't deal with it. So I'll go ahead and we'll get it notarized. We'll get all that. I'll have my friend Jesse, if he's not scared, to testify about the planning of Xanax. And you seem to take all that as a joke. We'll do that. We'll go ahead and get that. You know, I was thinking of the Richard Dorner. I think Richard Dorner was his name. And why I was thinking of that case. Dorner was an officer in California. He was a black man. It was very sad, tragic. But Dorner, it was on the news, like every day, breaking news and all. He had gotten fired from the police department in California. And then he flipped. Dorner flipped. And he went on like a rampage. It was very sad. The media did not help this case because he had like a background of tactics, military tactics. And there were people on CNN and all that was saying, oh, he's, like a Rambo. And it was hurtful for them to have been portraying it that way in the public. But he was indeed somewhat of like a tactics expert. And he was hiding out. And he targeted, sadly, he targeted his former police department. And he killed people on this rampage. He was hiding out, and finally Dorner, it was the national news, got shot and killed. But then what happened was, supposedly, Dorner was a black man. Not supposedly, he was. And he made a charge against white officers in California. Now look, there's a history out there with L.A. and Rodney King. Supposedly Dorner said some white officers had used racial slurs against him and he filed a report. That's why he got fired. Because they investigated and said, well, no slurs were made, and then they fired him, which seemed to be a lot, because then they said, and he was fired for making a false report of it. But then weeks later, I remember, there seemed to be some truth to what he had said, never justifying what he had done. But it showed you how they, even in that particular scenario, they retaliated, they used what they had. And I just found that came to my mind, because I'm sure there are good elements in departments. I don't take any of these things as a joke. I don't take any. When I came to realize some of these things that were going on, and that it was known, sort of like you got used to it. Yeah, every now and then you're going to have drugs planted on you because you have a record. People know that. You got to be kidding me. You're acknowledging that maybe my friend did 2 years because cop planted Xanax on him, and they kind of got used to that, and, let bygones be bygones, but he might do it again. When I realized that that's how they were running that department, I thought, you have to be joking me. You have to be kidding me. That my Christian lady friend said, sort of like, be careful, John, because he has word out on the street, which was he'll take his uniform off and come back and beat the shit out of people. That was another testimony besides that my other friend that indeed did happen. So that was sort of like, yes, they let that happen out here. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Are you fucking kidding me that's a permissible act? My friend Matt, I think Matt's in jail. He told me a few years ago, he said there was including this particular officer, but there was a group of them that went around assaulting people. I always forget the name Matt used for that. Not gang, but he used another word that was kind of funny, but I thought I used to not believe that. And then when I realized there were some that did that, the same one, but he had others with him, I thought, how could you know that that's going on? This ain't a matter of a job, we're worried about our jobs, John. This is a matter of you need to get another job. You need to be in another, look, I work with guys on the streets that have criminal backgrounds. You got a history like that, just become a street guy. Don't have the citizens of Corpus pay for that.